In the Conservation of Energy lab, I'm going to need to do a series of calculations for each trial. I want to calculate the initial potential energy, the final kinetic energy, the difference in energy, the percent difference in energy. And I'm going to do the same set of calculations 4 times, one for each trial. Now I could get out my calculator and punch in mass times 9.8 times 0.66 and put the number in here and then do the same thing for trial 2 and the same thing for trial 3 and the same thing for trial 4. I could do half sum of the masses times v squared and put it in for final kinetic energy for each one. But that's going to be pretty time consuming. It might take me 10 to 15 minutes to fill in this box. What I'm going to do instead is use formulas in Google Sheets in order to get the spreadsheet to calculate those numbers for me. This is going to hopefully be a faster and more efficient process. So the first thing to do in Google Sheets, in order to get it to tell, or in order to tell it that I'm going to use a formula, I'm going to put an equal sign in the box that I want the result of that formula or function to be in. In this case, I want the initial potential energy to be in this box here, so I'm going to put an equal sign in that box. What the equal sign really tells Google Sheets is I'm either putting in a function that's set up in Google Sheets or writing a mathematical formula, and I want the result of that formula to be presented in this cell or box. Now the different boxes or cells are represented by a letter, which tells me what column they're in, and a number, which tells me what row they're in. So this box here is cell B17, which it says up here. Now in order to get it to this calculation, I'm going to select mass, and then I want to multiply by 9.8. So I use the star symbol to multiply, put 9.8, that's G, and then multiply by my height, which is in this box here. And when I hit enter, it's going to present the result for initial potential energy. Now I want to do that calculation for all 4 trials. So what I can do is take and drag this across, and it's going to automatically copy that calculation for all 4 of those trials. What it does is it automatically shifts it from B5 and B6 to C5 and C6 to D5 and D6 to E5 and E6. So it automatically shifts the column when I copy it left to right. If I were to copy this up and down, it would shift down rows or up rows. The second calculation I want to do is for kinetic energy. So I know kinetic energy is half times the sum of the masses. So I want to put this in parentheses, take this mass and add that mass, and then I want to multiply by v squared. Now there are 2 ways I could do v squared. I could do multiplied by b7 multiplied by b7, or I could do multiplied by b7 and tell it to square that number. The caret is telling the sheets that I want that number squared. So I'm going to enter, and it's going to put the result of that formula in there, and then I'm going to copy all that across as well. So now I've got my kinetic energy for all of the trials calculated. Now to do difference in energy, I just want to do this number minus that number, final kinetic energy minus initial potential energy. And copy all that across. And then the last one for percent difference, I'll do final kinetic energy minus initial potential energy, and then divide it by the initial potential energy. There we go. Now I want this presented as a percentage, so you can go up to here and go percent, and it formats that for me. And then I can drag this across. And guess what? I've now done all those calculations right away. Now let's say I've looked at my data and I said, well, these kind of look good, but 10% seems kind of high for this one. Maybe I go back and look at my lab partner's data and I see that instead of this being 0.66, it was actually 0.62. Well, if I'd done this by hand, I would then need to recalculate this, and recalculate this. One advantage to using Sheets is if this is 0.62, I could just change that number and it will automatically change all of the other values that relate to that number. So I don't need to redo those calculations if I realize that one of my values is incorrect. So that's a quick overview of how to use the formulas and functions in Google Sheets in the Conservation of Energy lab.